My wife walked out on a Thursday evening, so quietly that the moment felt unreal. She had already packed 2 suitcases ahead of time, set her wedding ring gently on the coffee table, and spoke the sentence that shattered something deep inside me. "I'm sorry, Adam. I love him. I have to leave." I couldn't form a response. Shock is a strange way of muting the world. She didn't shed a tear, didn't tremble, didn't hesitate. She simply turned and left, like someone who had rehearsed a departure so many times that it no longer hurt to perform it. The door closed softly, but to me, it sounded like the loudest ending of my life. The first week afterward was nothing but haze. I woke up to an empty side of the bed, stared at the untouched pillow she once slept on, and wondered if love really came with an expiration date. The silence inside the house grew so heavy it felt like furniture, immovable, suffocating. I checked her social media once. Just once. I saw a photo of her with him, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. I shut the app before the image could crush me completely. Friends said I'd be all right. My family insisted she didn't deserve me, but none of their comfort filled the hollow space inside my chest. By the second week, I forced myself to exist again. I cleaned every room, donated half the things that reminded me of our life together, and bought a new couch, not because I needed it, but because it represented a clean beginning. I started taking walks during sunset, something I never imagined I'd enjoy. I joined a fitness class at the community center, partly to escape the house and partly to escape my thoughts. That's where I met Mia. She wasn't a dramatic whirlwind of a person. She didn't flirt or pry or even realize I was barely holding myself together. She was simply gentle. After class one day, she asked if I wanted to join a group for smoothers. My first instinct was to refuse. My second instinct was to refuse louder. But a quiet part of me whispered that if I didn't take one small step forward now, I might stay frozen forever. So I agreed. Mia listened when I talked and didn't judge when I admitted I was freshly separated. She didn't dig for details or hand me tired cliches. She just nodded and said, "That's rough. I'm glad you're still standing." Those simple words meant more than anything anyone else had told me in weeks. A month passed, 30 days since my wife had walked out of my life. And by then, my days had a different shape. I wasn't healed. Heartbreak doesn't patch itself neatly in 4 weeks. But I could breathe again. I didn't flinch at her name anymore. I no longer replayed our last argument. I stopped checking her online. I stopped blaming myself. I was moving forward, slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably. Then, on a Sunday morning, she returned. There was a light knock while I was making coffee. I opened the door without thinking, expecting a package. Instead, I froze. She was standing there, the woman who had once been my wife. Her hair was a mess, her eyes swollen, her lips unsteady. She looked nothing like the glowing woman who had walked away a month before. "Adam," she whispered, as though unsure she still had the right to say my name. I stepped aside. I wasn't willing to hand her my heart again, but I wasn't cold enough to leave her outside either. She slowly walked in, her gaze drifting around the living room. The new couch, the changed decor, the missing photos, the empty spaces where her things used to be. "It looks different," she murmured. "It is," I answered. She swallowed hard. "Are you okay?" "I'm getting there." My calmness seemed to wound her more than anger ever could. Her chest trembled as she sat down in the armchair and covered her face with her hands. For a long moment, she said nothing, just breathed like someone trying not to collapse. Then she finally spoke. "Adam, I made a mistake." I didn't answer her right away. It wasn't out of cruelty. I genuinely had no idea what she expected to hear from me. She pressed on, filling the silence. "He wasn't the person I imagined," she murmured. The illusion faded so fast. The thrill disappeared. He treated me like an accessory, not someone he cared about. "And you believed coming back here would solve that?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. She flinched. "No. I mean, I hoped. I thought maybe there was still space for me. That maybe you hadn't moved on. That maybe—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes shifting to something behind me. Mia walked into the room carrying 2 cups of coffee. She'd come over earlier to help me pick out new curtains, a small tradition we jokingly started. She froze too when she saw my wife sitting there. The air grew so heavy it felt like it could crush us. My wife's face drained the color. Who is she? I exhaled slowly, not because I felt guilty, but because I knew this moment would dismantle whatever hope she'd been clinging to. She's a friend, I said honestly, but Mia's quiet closeness, the steady way she held the mugs, the calm assurance in her posture, all of it made one truth unmistakable. My wife was no longer the axis my life revolved around. Tears welled in her eyes. You've already replaced me. I shook my head. You walked away. You made your choice. I didn't replace you. I rebuilt what you left behind. A fragile sob escaped her, then another until she was crying openly. The reality hit her hard. The universe hadn't frozen in place waiting for her return. I hadn't kept her seat on the throne warm. Can we talk? She pleaded. Please, Adam, just talk to me. Give me a chance to explain. I want to come back. I want us again. I looked at her, the woman I used to love, the same woman who shattered me, now desperate to reverse the moment she let go. And unexpectedly, I felt steady, unshaken. I don't hate you, I said softly. I don't want you to suffer. But you walked out of this house, this marriage, this life, and I can't undo the moment you chose to leave. Her tears streamed down her face. So that's it? You're picking her over me. I'm choosing peace, I replied gently, and she's part of the life I'm creating now. She glanced around again, at the sofa she never picked out, the walls she didn't decorate, the life she no longer had a place in. The truth settled over her like dust gathered on forgotten shelves. She rose slowly. I'm too late, she breathed. I stayed silent. She walked to the door, paused, and looked back, not angry, not resentful, but with a resigned acceptance of someone who finally understood the cost of their choices. I hope she treats you better than I did, she said. She already does, I replied quietly. My ex-wife, nodded, opened the door, and stepped out into a world where I no longer existed for her. And for the first time since the night she left, I felt something close to release. A new chapter had started, and this time I wasn't stepping into it alone.